scheduled to visit my daughter. She gave me these jeans about 3 weeks ago, and of course I've put it off to today, right before I need to travel to see her. So these are some jeans that her friends had ripped at the crotch, and she wanted to know if I could repair them for her. So it's not actually the seam that separated, it's actually the material itself that was ripped, and it's ripped all the way up to the zipper area in the front. So I wanted it to look somewhat decent, and so I had an inspiration on how I might be able to fix these. So I went the other day and got just a small remnant of white jean material, and I thought about all of my yoga pants. Here's an example of one pair of my yoga pants. You can see how they kind of have a triangle built in. Some of them have more of this little moon shape built into them. So I just cut off a piece of rectangular white material that matched. Didn't know exactly what size I needed, and I just pinned the right sides together on the bottom part of the jean with pins. I wanted to pick a stitch that did double duty and reinforce the seam with a zigzag with a regular stitch. So I chose this stitch on my machine, which tells me I need my C-foot. So I pulled out my C-foot, and you see kind of how it operates. It does all the work for me. I also tried it out on a scrap piece of material before I started. Once I finished sewing along the bottom, I took the rectangular piece of material and tucked it up inside the jeans with wrong sides together, so I could take a look at how I wanted to do the front. Here's a view of the outside of the pants, and here's a view with them wrong side out. And so I was looking at the actual rip part and deciding exactly how I needed to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the ripped section so it's not in my way, and then sew it onto that rectangular piece of material that I cut. At this point, I decided to take the seam allowance, pull it back, and then mark that rectangular piece with a pencil on where I wanted it to line up. This is going to be the actual pattern. So I'm going to making the pattern as I go. So I'm going to do that on both sides with pencil. And that's where my sewing line will be. Pull out the material, and here is, I'm going to have to kind of eyeball it as I'm looking back and forth. I'm going to pin wrong sides together along that pencil line. I'll do the right side of the jean first. I'm just pinning it. I flip it over, make sure it's lining up with my pencil mark. Now be sure to remove the pins as you sew so you don't break your sewing needle in your machine. I've done that hundreds of times. And so here you can see both sides of the material. And let's take a look at the front. So the part next to the sewing machine is the bottom of the jean, and the one that's over kind of towards the right, that's the new stitch I made. So now I need to stitch the other side, the left side of the jean in the front. So we'll do the same thing. I'm pinning the right sides together. Wrong sides are showing. I'm matching it up along that pencil line just like I did on the other. Looks good and lined up. Now let's go to the machine. Again, don't forget to remove the pins as you go. All right, let's take a look. This is now what the outside of the jean looks like. And here's a view from the inside. Now remember, I still have a rectangular piece of material. So at this point, I'm going to cut off the excess of that into more of a triangle shape, close to the stitching without cutting through the stitching or the jean below it. When I look at the front of the jean, there's a pucker right below the zipper, and I feel like I can fix this. There's also a little gap with some top stitching, which will actually make the jean look like that was on purpose. So I'm just going to pin under all of those gaps, and we'll do a top stitching right on top of the jean, right along both the right and the left hand sides of my triangular patch job. I just need to remember to change the foot back to the regular stitch. So here's my A foot. And first I did the top stitching to the left of the jean, and now I'm going to do it to the right. And here is the finished product. Looks pretty good. I don't know how they're going to fit. And I think that they look original, and it doesn't look like I did a patch job at all.